Welcome to the Super Spectrum. We're live on air with Trey. Today we're going to be reviewing In Whose Name, and it's the new Kanye movie. Have a little bit to say here, um, so let's start it. Sometimes in life, it's better to walk away with more questions than answers. To that point, I didn't feel the need to review this film after seeing it, at least not as much as I felt the need to question it. This is the same feeling I came away with when listening to Kanye's music, which feels too good for him to produce, while still being such an ignorant man. But pride cometh before the fall, and we all know how prideful Kanye can act. Still, I can't help but feeling the way I do, a feeling strengthened by this movie, as it felt like a highlight reel of Kanye's most ego-driven moments. Could Kanye really be so ignorant as to publicly portray himself the way he does time after time, with this film just being the latest example? I sometimes wonder if he's playing into a character that he knows everyone will pay to see fail, just as much as his fans will pay to hear him succeed. As they say, any publicity is good publicity. I even wonder sometimes if this is his own character to begin with, and if it isn't, what is his character's purpose? In other words, in whose name? Either way, we can learn some truth from this man's highs and lows, just as he, or the character he's portraying, seems to learn or fail to learn. Kanye's journey seems straight out of Shutter Island, but the question that remains in this analogy is Kanye like Leonardo DiCaprio's broken character in the film? Someone who's being led by powerful elites on a breadcrumb trail for his own growth, and maybe even that of his own audience? Or is he like Leonardo DiCaprio, the famous actor in real life, just playing a broken man for our entertainment, and maybe even our own growth? So, Kanye, Trey, what do you think about that?
I just want to say I love Kanye and I love things about Kanye. I love his music. I love his movie. And yeah, so basically,
You don't think that's controversial to say?
I don't
You,
care what's controversial to say.
you don't think that'll get us canceled?
Oh, no, no. I mean, look at Kanye. I mean, he's been canceled, canceled, and canceled. And okay, I'm going to take this off. I'm going to let you finish. But I'm gonna say Kanye had the best documentary of all time. One sec, one sec. Okay, this is going perfectly. Okay, no, it's it's
So is
me,
it really
everyone.
Trey or is it Trevor?
It's Trey. You better say
Oh,
my name right, or I'm not gonna be on your show. No. Okay, my review. Okay. Um, did you want to give it a score?
I'll give it a Kanye out of 10.
Okay.
No, no, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's hard. I wouldn't even want to review the movie, but
All right.
it's an art piece. I had a great time. I'm gonna get into more of why I had a great time. It was a great theater experience. People were shouting. Some people were bothered by that, but I enjoyed it.
What were they shouting?
They were having fun. They were just like,
Okay.
you know the you know how like they sell a syringe of like some like red shot liquid,
Okay.
alcohol, like the
Uh-huh.
al yeah. Yeah, someone either brought, I don't know if they sell that at the theater, but they brought that into the theater I was watching it in, and they started drinking it, and super he got super drunk. So, but yeah, it was fun. And I don't know, I was pissed at at some points in the movie because I was just like I said, like It literally felt like a reel or a highlight reel of his worst moments, but
So
whatever.
that's kind of crazy. Mine was the opposite experience in more ways than one. Like I had
Okay.
two, there were two couples in the theater,
Hmm.
and so and this one chick, it was kind of funny. She left like, or she went to the bathroom or something like more times than I've ever seen anyone leave. Like 4 or 5 times she left and came back. But anyway, yeah, it's funny. I pretty much have the opposite take in some ways. I have some things written down, but that's not really my review, I guess. My review would be I was surprised in a good way, pleasantly surprised that there's like it seems like it's obviously produced by Kanye. I actually didn't see in the credits. It was produced by someone else, like in the credits, but he obviously gave, or it seems like he gave the green light on this, or had some part in the production of it, because it seemed like
So
his personal photographer. And so I wasn't sure before this came out, before I saw it, if it was going to be made by some production company that was going to paint him in a bad light, or if it was going to be produced by Kanye and it was going to make him look like the hero, the best guy ever. And it really, I think I was surprised that, and they say this in, I guess this isn't really like a spoilers type movie. So, like, I think I can say this that, like, the ending, I forget who's saying it. I think it's the guy who, the videographer,
mm,
someone saying in the narration that there's no through line. There's no like
yep.
spin or plot to this. It's just raw
Mm,
footage, kind of like you said, a highlight reel of his worst moments. But I would
mhm.
disagree in that. I mean, yes, his worst moment. These may be like his worst moments in his life. Like if he was to look back, these are not pleasant moments. These are like, this is like the downfall of his marriage in on film. And yes, he so the funniest thing about all this with my perspective on this movie and Kanye in general, but also my values as a person, like humility is something I try to have and I think all people should have, but and he has no humility. I mean, every once in a while he will like almost start to reference having humility and then he'll be like, "Nah, I, I'd like to say that, but nah, I am the best." And for some reason, for me, and also another thing, this isn't really a idolizing people is not something I try to do either. So I have to catch myself and not idolize him. But he, um, I think he's an important figure in that way that like he does say he has said in the past, this music that he makes is for people to picture themselves as this person. And I think there is a place there's a balance between ego and humility. Like, especially as an artist, you want to have, you need to have some sort of confidence in order to put something out there. And he embodies confidence. So that's why I think I don't get as worked up about his ego as he's like the representation of the ego and of confidence, for better,
Mm.
for worse. And so
But
with the,
yeah,
you can,
well, it feels sometimes like he's so unconfident, and that's why he does it in an inferiority complex.
exactly, but that's the point. That I didn't say that, but like
Mhm.
that's why it's important for people to um, hear this his music, but also I think seeing this movie is totally different than what I'm describing. Like um, his artistry in general, I think is important for people to recognize that he is like a goofy awkward kid from Chicago who like didn't fit in, was a nerd,
Hmm.
um, and became what is recognized in a lot of ways as like a lot of people will call him the greatest uh, artist of all time. Um, that's a hard thing to say. It's kind of like saying what's the best movie of all time, but I would put him up there. And this is not getting into any of the stuff he says. That's okay. That will be more after the review, I guess. Again, this is on some Kanye stuff. I thought about this. Like, I'm just speaking from the heart here. And that's what I do want to say in response to your review is this for me, I've always felt like Kanye speaks from the heart as opposed to it being scripted. And I think that this is kind of like not proof of that. We'll never be able to prove that. But um I think he does speak from the heart and so yeah, it was basically a surreal experience seeing all this cool footage of behind the scenes of some of the craziest eras of his career and seeing it on a big screen, seeing him on the big screen, seeing Diddy on the big screen, seeing, you know, all this stuff. My favorite part was probably seeing the behind the scenes of the Yeezy collections and the Yeezy shoes because I always like love seeing that stuff. And so yeah, really fun experience, totally different than yours. Um, and
I enjoyed it though. I enjoyed
oh
it so
yeah, no, I'm
much.
just saying
Like,
the theater experience. Like there was like no
uh,
one there at mine,
hey,
and so I'm gonna give it a number score just for continuity, but um, I would say like a a 7 out of 10, just because it was kind of random. It wasn't random. It was really well put together, but it was just footage cut together. Um, and they left a lot of stuff out. Like they left out like all the Jews stuff. Like they showed that era, but they didn't really show what he was talking about, which is probably was probably necessary to put it in a theater. That's one last thing I'll say that was awesome. I was just surprised that this was even to even see this in a theater. Like I would never have expected that, and so yeah, that was kind of all over the place, but that's one thing I can relate to Kanye on is like the communication just kind of like goes all over the place.
one of the ideas I had for it being scripted was that it felt like you said, it skipped so much, and I feel like it like perfectly, or not perfectly, but like you could have made this movie if you were like, we got 12 scenes, guys, because they'd skip so much time, and it would be like a long like 7 or 10 minute like little video, and then it felt like, okay, this is going to be the day that we do the church, and this is going to be the crazy thing he says this time, like, you know
Now,
um
yeah, that's fair, but I should have we're only 14 minutes in, but I should have given this disclaimer earlier because I totally just glazed Kanye for like my whole spiel.
mhm,
I don't agree with him in a lot of ways.
mhm,
Um, I do have a lot of, but I am known as like my whole life throughout especially these last 5 to 10 years, I've always defended him, and it was really funny. Like these last 2 years, it got even crazier and harder to like, but I always do like because um yeah, I'll get into that in a sec. But in response to what you were just saying, I have something written down here like
mhm.
the one thing that is surprising about this movie and is the fact that the videographer was at least with working with him since 2018, but I wasn't so sure if he's been around even longer because a
Mm,
lot of that footage was from like 2008
mm,
and so on in the beginning. And the reason that's surprising to me is like Kanye is notorious for like working with someone and they always have a falling out. Like recently, Dave Blunt, who Ghost wrote his newer stuff that hasn't been released yet, they just had a falling out. And like
mm.
months ago, they were talking about like Dave Blunt was saying in interviews like I'm always gonna have Kanye's back, and then like they've already fallen out. So it's really surprising that there's a camera guy out there who stuck with him for that long and Kanye didn't at any point be like, nah man, you're doing this or you're doing that, or the other guy being like, yeah, I don't know if I want to be a part of this anymore. So that's cool and surprising. Um I actually have some like symbolism stuff that I wrote down on kind of on my bare truth tip, which I
Oh,
don't normally have like that stuff prepared. But I think since I'm more familiar with Kanye and not more than you, but more than you are with like the symbolism in other movies.
right. Well, you're talking about the symbolism of what, like, or does Kanye have symbolism that he uses, or
Well, um, so I think everything he says and does, although when he speaks, it comes from the heart, and I think like the unconscious.
Mhm,
For example, going all the way back to George Bush doesn't care about black people,
mhm,
to the Taylor Swift thing, to the Donald Trump thing, and then the Jew thing. I think all of those in those moments, and it's crazy if you watch the George Bush doesn't care about black people video. On what you were saying, he does seem nervous. Like he seems like I
even if you're not, doing, like, even if you're not planning to do that, well, either way, it's being planned. He's planning to say something that's extremely provocative and he knows is going to be a history. So you'd be nervous no matter what on that.
yeah. And so there's a lot of things I think that represents. One is this one's like the least, maybe not the least, but this isn't really what I was gonna say, but I think it takes bravery, obviously, to say something that's going to piss everyone off, especially when you just, in that case, he
Hmm.
just kind of started his career. And like, so in that moment, everyone hates him. And then, or like, probably like conservative America or like a majority of America hates him. Same thing with the Taylor Swift. But then you look back and you look at what he was saying, and now he's kind of like, he was ahead of his time in that way. Like, oh my gosh, he was speaking up for black people during Hurricane Katrina. He was speaking up for Beyonce when I'm not too familiar with Taylor Swift's music back then, especially, and Beyonce's music, but I would probably assume Beyonce's music video was better. I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure it was freaking Put a Ring on it. And I don't know what Taylor Swift video that she did win for, but that's like a common thing. Like Macklemore won over Kendrick Lamar. Like they always kind of, not nowadays probably, but back then they would always kind of screw over the black guy. And it's kind of hard to explain, but not really. Kanye, like he there was this theory that went around during the Trump era when he was wearing the MAGA hat. I forget the artist's name and I forget the name of the piece, but he did this performance art piece where he sat in a in a studio apartment. This was in like the 50s or something. It was like black and white, so maybe the 40s. And he took a wild coyote and put it in the apartment, and he lived with it for like 24 hours or something. And allegedly, like at first, the coyote was um like you know aggressive, but eventually
Mhm.
by the end of it, like they're both kind of sleeping in their own corners. And this was apparently about racism in America or something, and kind of living with and coexisting with, or it wasn't necessarily about racism, it was about like the wild side of America, the chaotic energy, and learning to coexist with that. And I saw a theory that like there were like Kanye was like using little symbols to reference that during the MAGA hat era. And they were kind of trying to say that's what he was doing with Trump. Like Trump represented the chaotic, which is ironic because Kanye is kind of the chaotic one, but Trump is even more chaotic in some ways, in terms of like his people's reaction to him or like his existence in America. And so, one, I do think Kanye does everything intentionally, but then at the same time, when he speaks, it's stream of conscious, like from the heart. And then the Hitler thing, or I don't know if I should say that on YouTube or whatever, but
Doesn't matter.
the Alex Jones interview, he he was ahead of his time in that sense that this was before October 7th, and he was calling out Bibi Netanyahu, and he was calling him out for like controlling America or something. It was very
Kanye
vague.
or Alex?
Kanye.
Oh, that's
He,
good.
he pulled out the net and the yacht and a yoo-hoo. And he said, I'm Bibi Netanyahu.
Right. I saw that.
Netanyahu.
I never understood what the heck he was doing. Or
Yeah,
maybe I did, and now I forget. But
he was referencing he was mocking Bibi Netanyahu. He wasn't directly talking about Palestine, but what I'm getting at is like a few years later, again, like the George Bush thing and the Taylor Swift thing, like in history, people look back on that and they're like, wow, he had a point. I'm not saying that there is something to be said for the I love Hitler thing. There's this like people like to say that he was trying to be Christian and represent the love your enemy thing,
mhm.
but he does continue to use like Nazi symbolism, and I think that's another a totally different thing. That's why I think he's genius, to be honest. Like, and that's not. I don't
Yeah,
think that's a controversial thing to say. I think even people who don't like him, I've heard say that with the
interesting.
with the Nazi symbolism that he's continuing to use. I think at this point he's in bring it full circle back to the movie. That's what I think all of these eras from 2018 to 2024, where the movie ends, he's because throughout all these chaotic moments in his marriage and his life, he's
Hmm.
continuing to create art and he's meeting with these artists. And some of those scenes are pretty crazy and get to what you're talking about, like these outbursts. Those are pretty weird, but he's he's not just being an edge lord. He's I mean, who knows what he's actually doing, but it seems like he's he's trying to break free from the matrix, and that's another reason I think that he is truly solo and he's not being completely controlled. He's probably being controlled to an extent, but I think he is genuinely fighting that control.
Yeah. Of course, we don't know. I think one thing I appreciate about him is, or appreciate about his existence, is that, he does, like, open the narrative and open the yeah, he opens the narrative for discussion, you know. I always, feel like, I said in the beginning, I said he's an ignorant man, but you know, it doesn't make sense that he's so ignorant, but then makes beautiful music and um, yeah, because he he should, you know, if he really wants to help the world, like saying that, saying just Jews, are running the world or running whatever him, that's not. He's going to first of all have way less people listen to him, and then second of all, it's just untrue. And it makes him sound dumb. So first of all, he's going to alienate people. Second of all, he's going to sound ignorant because of course that's not true. And third of all, if he were to make it just like, powerful elite, run the world, and some of them are Jewish, or, at least like clarify that he's not against Jewish people or the Jewish religion. He's against these people who are, predominantly Jewish, maybe he sees, or maybe they are, whatever. But, it just seems like he's too smart to be doing what he's doing. But anyways, bringing it back to what I originally said is that um, I'm just at least happy to where like he does spread awareness in the way that, like there is half truths to a lot of what he says, and yeah, there were times, like the 9/11 thing or the George Bush thing, the 9/11 steel beams thing. He's said, things that definitely, helped people wake up and stuff. So,
Well,
yeah.
I do have respond to things about what you were saying about. So the one thing I will say that I did find interesting about this movie, that about the Jewish thing, is that I did have a feeling, and maybe this was explicitly said at one point, but it kind of in the movie portrays it this way, that he was saying the Jewish stuff to get out of the contracts, which it seems like he was going to, because yeah, that's what they talk about in the movie, is that these are multi-billion-dollar contracts. He's, especially Adidas and Gap, I forget what the other one was, the record label. Yeah, the record label. Probably not the record label as much because they have so many artists. Um, but I mean, I think it's just a truth, an objective truth, that like Adidas needed Kanye. Like from 2016 or 2015, whenever he signed the contract with them, their stock price skyrocketed. And when he left, it plummeted. They're probably doing fine now, but he made Adidas cool. It was, and brought them billions of dollars. And so that was going to be a really hard contract to get out of. And the easiest way he could have done that probably was to be anti-Semitic publicly. And with
Or
that,
that solves everything, honestly.
but
Well,
I mean,
also
if that solves
the way he
everything,
act, the way no, it's like I don't expect a person on his level of musical genius to be throwing tantrums still, and also like a lot of his old work, like what's that, the heart 808s and Heartbreak, like it's things that he's talking about, they of course, and also in My Twisted Dark Fantasy, they seem like they're talking about like initiation. So a
So
lot of, hmm?
no, go on.
Well, that would, go into like him being, controlled opposition, of course. But
So he
those two
definitely.
albums he talked. Hmm? Yeah, yeah. You said that he's controlled to an extent,
But I'm
and
saying,
I like that. I like that. Right. And so you're saying that like he could have kind of grown out of that,
yeah, I think
right?
so. He is one of the prime examples. I was referencing this to someone today
Hmm.
that the concept of, I think it's called getting your bones or selling your bones. I think it's getting your bones, which
Okay.
this is definitely, I think at this point YouTube is chilling out, but this
Hmm.
is a deep concept. Not even like this is pretty like normie conspiracy knowledge, like the
Hmm.
idea of sacrifice and like his
Gundam.
mother, yeah, his mother. And that was a crazy scene. I couldn't catch if that lady was tripping at his home, his childhood home, like if that lady was low key tripping or actually channeling or something. I maybe it was a little bit of both, but because then she references, I know what happened to your mom, and he goes, "What happened to my mom?" And she's like, "I don't want to get into that." And then like she goes into, she had a surgery that went wrong. But like when she said, I don't want to get into that, she could have meant like, I don't want to talk about your dead mom, even though she brought it
Yeah.
up. But I think she low key was like referencing like that she was sacrificed maybe.
Right.
Cause, um,
Sorry. I'm smiling. It's just
no, you're good. You're
I'm
good. I
I'm
didn't,
yeah. It's I'm glad the interviews go, or not the interview, the podcast is going this way, because it's like I think it's a lot of stuff that people should think about. But
yeah.
anyways.
And so, okay, I have one last thing written down that's connected to all this, but I do want to
Hmm.
say that like, so he, in my opinion, sacrificed his mother. And how that works, this is what I was saying to someone earlier today, is like there, in my opinion, is a spiritual reality of that, but then there's a
Hmm.
practical reality and reason to that as well. The spiritual is that I personally believe in evil forces, and the idea of sacrifice is you are giving something up, and the more you give, the more you get. But
Yeah.
aside from that, whether that's real or not, in reality, in the physical world, that is the same exact, it works the same way with the powers that be, because they want to see how much, the more you give up, shows how loyal you are to them and not to your own
Yeah.
blood and your own family. So if you
Yep.
give up your mother, you will become, they will, it's not that you will be the greatest artist ever, but they'll give you the money and resources and the ability to create whatever you want. Um, and so Kanye, in my opinion, did that, and over
Wow.
time, that's why I think he does these outbursts could be controlled opposition, and I think are in a lot of cases, even the ones I referenced, even the George Bush one, and so
Hmm.
on. But I think I just personally get the vibe that he is truly trying to escape that.
Yeah.
Um, and who
Well,
knows?
real quick, I said wow because I didn't know that you thought all of this. Of course, I've heard stuff like this, but continue. It's just it's like you're putting it together really well right now. But sorry, I didn't mean to
So
interrupt you. I just want
no,
to
you're good.
clarify my thoughts.
You're good.
Why I said wow.
Um, so the last thing I've written down here is a perfect way place to put this in this is like in the intro, and I only remember this because I watched a little bit of the film on the internet again after I saw it in theaters today.
Hmm.
And in the intro, not the very intro, but he's referencing the Matrix at one point. He's just kind of talking about something, and he says the word Matrix, and it shows him. I don't know if he was performing at what point or if it was an edit with a
Hmm.
graphic. Saturn is behind him. It's got his silhouette and then the planet Saturn, and it says the word Matrix at that point, and he's referencing like the Matrix that
Nike
we're in.
check.
Yeah. And
Saturn's
so
ring.
the Nike check, and he was originally with Nike before
Yeah, that's what I
Adidas.
said. Right.
And so that's what I want to say. So personally, I do believe that he is escaping, if not out of their control, to the extent that he can be. But I am not 100% on that because of stuff like that. Like, I don't think Kanye is putting that together. He might be aware of the Saturn uh, Matrix connection, but whoever was putting the film together was aware of that and did that intentionally. And so, yeah, like I think if you're that deep in it, if you gave up your if you sacrifice someone, yeah, it's gonna be really hard, if not impossible, to get out of that. But um, so there's also the element of his marriage, and that's where I do, again, similar to what I just described, but more so leaning the other way.
Hmm.
And this is a response to your talking about him being ignorant and his ego.
Hmm.
I feel like I don't think outbursts like that, they're obviously not mature, but and I don't think that they're valid or necessary in adult behavior, but I think he genuinely is like a once in a lifetime artist. And so I think there's something to be said for the fact that I saw like a comment somewhere that he's clearly not motivated by money. He's motivated by creation and creating art. And I think in those outbursts with his wife and some of his employees, people aren't allowing him to. And this is another spiritual aspect of this with my own life, but also the movie. I feel like that era where he was going crazy, like the I'm Bipolar album era,
Hmm.
I, in my own life at that point, was having outbursts like that. And that's one of the only times, other than when I was a little kid, where I would like freak out and yell. And I can say that for a few other people in my life I know, including Kanye. So I don't know if that's like, if that was some weird shit in the air, if that was some weird 5G shit, or if it was just like a synchronicity the spiritual reality where people were kind of going haywire. And I say that to say I'm not personally. I like to think I'm not completely insane, and but in those moments where I was yelling in arguments with people,
Hmm.
I felt like I was right, and I felt like they were misunderstanding where I was coming from. And so that's what I'm trying to say about Kanye is like, in his case, I think it's totally different because I was mad about like kind of similar stuff, like trying to be my own person, trying to be a creative person, and people being like, you need to get a job, a real job, or like not literally that because I've had jobs for my whole adult life at least, but just kind of like you need to give up on these dreams or whatever. And me being like, no, like you don't understand, like I'm trying to do this and do that. And that's what it seemed like Kanye was saying. And in his case, he is trying to create like some of the craziest things ever, and a lot of them haven't come to fruition. And like the architect, that was a really cringe one for me, where I was more so on your side of the ignorance. Like, dude, you sound insane to these people and just to the viewer. Like, but it's just like I think he is genuinely being misunderstood by these people. Not the architect. I feel like the architect was a chill dude, like who did understand where he was coming from. But
Hmm.
the reason he was lashing out on him is because people like his wife and probably his managers or people behind the scenes that aren't even in the movie,
Hmm.
uh, they didn't give him the chance to, uh, or in his eyes, they didn't give him the chance to be free. Whether that was really was going on or not, we'll probably never know. But so I say that to say there's like this he referenced okay, this is a really deep cut in the I'm Evil Black Klansman outfit interview with DJ Academics. He says something really funny but also seemingly true that like he's like Thanos with the Infinity Stones and each Infinity Stone is a different artist. Like he said like Travis has the sound, Tyler has the visuals, um ASAP Rocky has the fashion, um Playboy Cardi has like the vocals. I don't know if he said Cardi, but he referenced like all of these people, we should all be together. They should all be working for me, which is like a crazy egotistical thing to say. But if you think about it, he's right. Like Drake, he said Drake with the lyrics. Um if Drake if they were all together, which they were at one point, they would be unstoppable. They would be making the craziest art of our lifetime in terms of hip hop culture, at least. But I would argue like all pop culture. And clearly, someone is trying to break that all up, whether it be the Jews. I did want to ask you, but I don't really want to talk about that. But like, I think there is something about not the Jewish religion, but there is something going on. Like, he's not completely like being.
It's religion in general, and it's control systems in general that the Jewish religion represents, and it's okay. Like they have their like you were just describing, like the alliance of friends. Like they have their own way of if you um, if you they have their own idea of art, and of course they've been just stereotyped as money and not artistic at all and not creative at all, but and I'm not saying I'm totally not describing the people of the religion. I'm talking about people who might not even be of the religion, but are people you probably don't know their name, people who are into the mystical esoteric version of the religion. But anyways, they they can have their own way of like they're an alliance, and even though you don't know their names, they are, we don't know how it would work, but of course no, you can't prove how it would work, but I don't know if that helped at all or made any sense. Was
Yeah,
that what you're going for, or
pretty
like,
much. Like,
yeah.
I do think, yeah, I, yeah, that was a good response. I'm not really gonna go into it, not because, like, it's just way too complex for, like, a movie. I know that we talk about
Mhm.
complicated things on here, but this one is a little too complicated, and I'm sure some viewers that see this might even already, from what I'm saying and not saying, are gonna be like,
Mhm.
Oh, he agrees with Kanye on. I don't agree with Kanye on like it's not as black and white as he's putting it. That's what I'll say. It's not as black as white as he's putting it, but um, there is a discussion to be had there, and plenty of other people are having it. Um, I don't even know who should have it. Probably us, but I'm not mentally capable of explaining it right now. But yeah, I do think though that he's not completely insane, but he does have ego issues. But like I've said earlier, in my opinion, it's kind of a necessary evil in a sense for humanity. Probably not as much humanity, but more so his art. Um, but
What is that? Like it's necessary for us to for us to learn from Kanye's mistakes. Is that what you're saying?
um, yes, I would say that is a truth, but also
Hmm.
with everything I'm saying, like what I'm trying to say is that I don't even think he's making mistakes. Like, I think he is, like, these are not good things. That's why I'm saying a necessary evil. Like, he's not doing, like, what in a perfect world, I've never thought about this, but like, this is crazy. In a perfect world where he's doing everything right, what does that look like? Like, if he was, so yes, essentially learning from his mistakes in a sense, but like I said, I don't think they're mistakes because if he was the perfect poster boy, one,
Right.
he would be deeper entrenched in that matrix, in that control. But also, like if everyone loved Kanye, like remember 2016 probably. That might have been the beginning of the Trump stuff, but like I don't know. There was a certain era where like before the Trump stuff, but after the Adidas stuff where everyone loved Kanye. They loved his shoes, they loved his music, they loved everything. And like if that were to continue and just everyone loved Kanye, if he was literally like Michael Jackson, where like everyone loved him, it wouldn't be the fact that he was as high as he was, and then like said the things that he said, and is continuing to create. That is something that I think is more inspiring than just like the greatest artist of all time who everyone loves. Like he represents taking risks. He represents um, not backing down even if you don't, because as an artist everything is dynamic, and you have to be willing to take the risk, but you also have to be willing to keep going and to operate in this like chaotic state. You don't have to, but like if you want to do something new, you have to do something that has never been done, and that ultimately is what is inspiring to me about Kanye. Forget like, because that's what I hope. I'm sure if like everyone saw this podcast, there's a large chunk, if not a majority, of people who would be like, Trevor's anti-Semitic racist, just based on the fact that I'm not disavowing what he's saying and I'm like trying to explain what Kanye is doing and saying like it's all amazing, which is not what I'm saying, but I don't really care about that. What I'm saying right now is probably like the best part of what I said is that it's inspiring, like, because he didn't have to say I love Hitler, but the fact that he said that is like something no one has probably ever said in mainstream media.
Hmm.
And that's the part that's inspiring. And I hope that's so hard to explain. Like,
No, no, it's not. That's not
Right,
that's not that hard to explain. No,
right.
yeah, you're saying for people who are very close-minded, it would be hard for them to understand, you know, um why it's important that, people are first of all allowed to say that, and second of all, you know, um that there is like you said, deeper reason. Well, I don't know exactly what I was gonna say, but there's deeper reasons like why he might have been saying that, and people will just shut him out the second. Like I have people that I know in my life that if they hear Kanye's name, their mood goes down 100,000%. They have so much hate in their heart for him, and so they would not, you know, they just can't have a discussion like that, and that's I've been trying to think about it today, or like maybe just during this review, or while we've been talking about it before, but like the like I said, opening the narrative, but like it's and opening the discussion, but part of it is also it's like people people need to be kind of like shocked, I guess, or you know, offended, and to get used to being that way, and then eventually hopefully, you know, they it's not as shocking later on, and then at some point they can, uh even if it has nothing to do with Kanye because they've written him off, they're maybe less shocked the next time, something maybe even unrelated to what they were shocked about with Kanye saying, but now this new time they're not going to be as shocked because they've already. I don't know if that even makes
Yes.
sense or if that mattered, but
Do you remember? I was just thinking about this. Do you remember the song "Na Na Na"?
can't wait to get my money back or not.
It's like "Na Na Na." Na, na, na,
No, it's a more recent song.
no,
Yeah,
it's
I definitely have
from
heard it.
28. I think it might be even 2020, but like
Okay.
2019. It's like,
Yeah.
how does it go? Yeah, I can't really do it because I don't know all the lyrics, but I know it just goes "Na Na Na." Na 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 na. Anyway, when that song came out, I remember people were like freaking out and like um canceling him, and I listened to it recently. He says nothing in the song controversial except there's two parts. He
Hmm.
says it's kind of he references the Matrix, like trying to get out of the Matrix, and then in the chorus he says um or not in the chorus but in the bridge he says they'll put myself in harm's way to be the master or something like, or he says I'll put myself in harm's way to get my masters, something something something, so they can stay the master. And I remember there was like a big controversy about this song at the time, but listening to it now I'm like, how is this controversial in any way?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That. Mm.
that's kind of what you were saying.
Right. Yeah. It's like like slowly by slowly chipping away at what offends us, and eventually, and I totally I there are other things in life that I'm not going to say because people aren't, you know, people are so judgmental, but like that are to me not offensive, but like I see slowly, like we're getting used to them, and it's for the better to be to be not not offended,
Right.
because the end of the day, it's not, yeah. it's not really going to, it's like it's going to ruin your mood, but if it's a reality, it's a reality. And
Yes.
yeah, anyway.
For example, 9/11, I remember, sure, there are still people that are always going to be like, they'll never be able to even think about the government doing 9/11 or something. Like, they'll never be able to even discuss that. But I can just think of multiple people in my life that if that was brought up 10 years ago,
Hmm.
maybe even 5 years ago, probably not 5 because that was 2020. That was kind of when this all started to break down. But like those same people, if I was to bring that up with them that it's a conspiracy or something, it'd be like they wouldn't have this emotional reaction or where they will fight against it or like get angry the fact that I even insinuated that.
Hmm.
Same thing, yeah. And I think that's going to continue to, because now we're still at that stage with stuff like Donald Trump, like
Hmm.
many people. This one's more obvious because we're in it right now.
Yep.
But you just say his name, like you said with Kanye, they will be just so angry. And it's
Hmm.
like, I feel like in 5, 10 years, we'll be able to have these conversations with some of those people at least that like, because I have a theory that eventually there's going to be a president that's way worse, like a conservative president that's going to be like way more radical than Trump. That we're going to look back on Trump and be like, the liberals will look back on Trump and be like, whoa, dang near we wish that like we had him back because
Right.
probably not that crazy of a shift, but
Hmm.
um, that's just a little side note I've thought about before.
The best thing about Trump maybe is that he lowers the bar, and like if if he's allowed to, well, it's a good and a bad thing. If he's allowed to, well, no, the best part about it is that like he says something and makes it mainstream that no one else has talked about yet. And then like Kanye, now you're at least allowed to have a discussion about it because as long as you're not saying what they said about it, then people actually hear you out, you
Right.
know?
Yeah,
So that's a good thing.
that's a really good
Yeah.
point.
And yeah, yeah. Hmm. So, but real quick, go back. So, and funny, I don't know exactly how this relates, but I don't know, I've loved Kanye and his music and for so long. And when I say I love Kanye, like I love so much about Kanye, and he does things that I don't agree with. He does wrong things, but you know, I have love in my heart for everyone. And like I've said in past episodes, love people from a distance. You're not really going to accomplish anything with hating anyone. We accomplish way more if we work together and love each other. And if you start, animosity towards someone, you're not going to be able to have any compromise. But anyways, I have to preface that so people don't hate me, or preface with what I'm about to say so people don't hate me, because like I want to be loved by everyone, and not for any egotistical reason, but so that I could have a conversation and try to you know learn from them and they could learn from me. But anyways, Kanye, I grew up with his music since middle school, or even since before then. Before I even really knew who Kanye was, I liked the music. Um, and yeah, this movie, like, and I feel like Trump, like the lower, like, elementary type person, like, or like kind of kid vibe. Same with Kanye, like it dumbs things down, but it also like it puts you it, they might be. more childlike, but you can still with that mood, you can be sorry, they might be childish, then you can be childlike, in that state of, in that state that they bring everywhere they go. And you know, but to anyone, I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but where I was going originally was that um yeah, this movie and Kanye always put me in like a nostalgic feeling. And I'm able to separate the, you know, fact in my mind that he's an amazing artist, with that sometimes he does wrong things. I think you could be a good artist and still be an asshole sometimes. And I'm an asshole sometimes, and I really regret what I do sometimes, but I still make the mistakes. But my hope is just that I get better, and I hope that Kanye and everyone else gets better. Um, but anyways, seeing this movie, going into why I brought this up, there was like a theater experience, like I told you, and there was like that atmosphere in my experience of like um third grade mentality, or whatever you would like to call it, middle school mentality. And the so I'll bring up what happened. A guy and his two friends come in. He comes in with another friend who's a dude, another and a girl, and they come in, and the first thing he says, I wrote it down. He says, um, "We're all on the same page, right?" Or something like that. Like you're about to laugh at all this stuff, but hold on. Yeah. Well, hold on. Where is it? I put my whole review thing at the top, but it was the last thing I made. He said, yeah, a guy walked in with his two friends and said, "I'm glad everyone's on the same page here." And like, at first I didn't know what he, meant. I was like, is he a Kanye fan or is he a Nazi? Like, or
Right.
sorry, or does he think that Kanye's a Nazi,
Right.
right? And so, and at first I was like, is he making a joke about how, like, is he being sarcastic and like saying that, Kanye's so divisive, so he's kind of mocking the fact that no one here is on the same side. But after I heard him for a while, I noticed he was, a little bit probably too immature to think of that type of sarcasm. So he was
Hmm.
more of just, I'm pretty sure he was just a big fan of Kanye. Some other funny stuff he did was to put you in the mood of like, dude, we're at a theater, we're just, I don't know, man. Theater is also my other favorite place in the world, or like most nostalgic thing. So we're in the theater, and he types on his phone, or him, or I'm assuming the boy, because I guess the girl could have done it, but she didn't make a sound the whole time. The other boy didn't even, or man didn't even make another sound, or a sound either. It was only him talking, so I think it was him. And he said, on his phone, big text, it said, "Who has cart?" Question mark.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. He
That's
was
like a
trying to hit the pen.
concert.
What? He
Your experience was like a concert experience or
Yes,
something.
there you go. Yeah, and I've never really been to a concert, so that's why interesting. Of course, I don't smoke, but yeah, he was looking for other people. And then oh, and I chuckled when he said everyone's on the same page here, right? So like he could have been like, okay, those people are cool, let me ask them. But another more stuff that he did was during the trailers. There was I don't know if you had the same trailers, but it was Soul on Fire trailer. It was like some cheesy, corny like movie about like a fire or something. And he just shouted, "Shit lame" at the end. And then at that point, the couple next to me, like you had couples that was cool too. I love that. Um, and I had a couple next to me too. And the couple next to me, the man said, "I'm thinking of going and being a father to him and saying, I'm in a theater. That's like the mumble. Like I could hardly hear what they were saying, but there was some whisper of stuff like that. Like, but it's funny. Like, I'm in a theater, or we're in a theater. You need to stop. Like, whatever he's gonna do. And but I don't really blame him. I understand, but maybe he was just trying to be cool to his girlfriend. Anyways, I enjoyed the atmosphere, obviously, but and I don't blame anyone who didn't. And I would respect him wanting to have a quiet atmosphere in a movie over the kids shouting. But anyways, I would rather the kids shouting. I was having fun with it. But he did talk a little bit over the movie, like a lot, and that was annoying. So it got out of hand. But anyways, then when Wicked for Good came up, this is what I'm pretty sure he said. But he didn't say shit lame. He said gay lame. Like,
That's funny. He said shit lame, and then what the fuck with Wicked? He said gay lame.
yeah, yeah. Although of course I love Wicked, but I still thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Um, so some things that made the movie, now moving on from the theater atmosphere, things that I thought during the movie, I wrote this down. I don't. This is the only one I read it today. All this stuff and fixed typos, but this is the only one that I know or I don't remember why I thought this or when I thought this, but what made me thought of it, think of it. But I said we care too much about what others think, but we're all the same in the eyes of God. God only cares about how you look inside. I think there's like literally a quote that like in the Bible that and I was going to write down that quote because I love that quote, but God only cares about what you look like inside, something like that. It's like so good, but or it might be Jesus does. I can't remember, but anyways, um, and of course it's talking about how like your soul and your you know the way you are instead of the way that you look. But anyways, I thought of so Kanye is quite short. I thought of he's a little guy, or he's small, and he has the Napoleon complex. Also thought of Kanye as a leader for the sheep. Is because trying to think of exactly what my thought process was, but like it's kind of more of that like third grade mentality thing, like those people, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but at the same time, of course, like we were talking about, I enjoy a lot of the stuff Kanye does and has said. Um, and I also want to look up the artist James Turret. Turret. It was Turret is how I spelled it at least. So there was like a gray hair guy he spoke with. I should have looked that up before the review. Anyways, um, the
Terrell.
Sunday,
James
what?
Terrell.
Oh, Terrell, right,
He's a
right. So it was a
light.
typo.
He's a really interesting artist who makes like, to my understanding, he does weird like light stuff, like with lights, and
Yeah, that's cool as
creates
heck.
like experiences with lights. Not like rave lights, but like
Hmm.
colors. That's
That's
all
so
I know
cool.
about him.
I love color. I love deep. I love like more. I just love a good aesthetic color. Color aesthetic, something like that. Um, and then also thought that the Sunday service thing looked like a straight cult. Like I've never
Hmm.
seen it that bad, but like the Sunday service felt like they had like masks and they had like it was like the budget was through the roof. I was like, this looks. It felt like kind of like like the performative churches with the big music and
Hmm.
or rock band churches. Kind of felt like that. Um, and then I wrote down a bunch of stuff where Kanye failed at doing. So Kanye failed at moving to Chicago, even though he's like, I'm staying here forever.
Hmm.
Um, His church failed, his move to Wyoming failed, his election failed, his marriage failed, but his career is still going and hasn't failed, and I've continued to enjoy his music. Um, Also wrote he just looked like a baby in the movie, like Lex Luthor, an immature man-child throwing tantrums. It showed that um, during his election camp. Oh, sorry, separate thought. During his election campaign, he had 2020 like engraved
Hair.
in his hair. Thank you, on the side, and that reminded me of like how like in elementary school, going back on the mentality of elementary schoolers, that if you were cool if you had like a football cut into your head.
Uh-huh.
Did you grow up with that too?
Yeah, like sort of. Not like a football, but yeah, stuff like
That's
that.
it was like babyified. Like you're probably thinking of like the cool design, or not cool design, but however, it's of course subjective, but the design of like the wave, or like the,
Hmm.
or like that. This has always been cringe to me, the cutting, especially if you
Yeah.
did it an accident. But the no, like fifth, like, or like fourth or fifth grade kids, like the cool kids, at least where I went, and I think only one, maybe two, and I could think I know of one that did it, so I'm remembering it. But there's a second one that I think also did it, and maybe a third one now that they're coming on my mind, and maybe a fourth. But anyway, yeah, pretty much the cool kids. Like if you had a football, or like like it wasn't as cringe as back then, because I feel like I thought of maybe doing it, but
Hmm.
yeah, it was weird. Um, and that, that he Kanye had it, I was like, that's appealing to the third grade mentality in a
Hmm.
way, subconsciously or whatever. But and then I wrote down his clothes look like Fortnite skins. Um, and then yeah, said that. And then this is the last thing I have written. So, but we're an hour and 12 in. That's cool. Time flew. Kanye is divisive, but people have to allow. Sorry, let me start. Kanye is divisive, but people have to allow him to do that to them. It'd be better, and I've already spoken about this pretty much, but it'd be better if we were more whole with our takes and said that a person can be a good artist, or at least sometimes a good artist, while also being wrong about some things. I think we should all. Oh, sorry. I think all. Oh, I think we. Sorry, there's a smudge on my screen. I think we all should be more open-minded with our judgment of others and ourselves. We oftentimes see only the good in someone or ourselves, or only the bad, and we call them or ourselves a good person or a bad person. This black and white type of thinking, which of course Kanye does too, is never the truth, and no one is purely good or purely bad. Forgiving the wrongs of others and ourselves is so important. We should remember that people are often unaware of the extent of how wrong their actions are. Forgiveness is the greatest lesson we can learn out of studying Kanye and life in general, as it allows us to see the good in people and bring us together, not divide us.
That's good. That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
I obviously I don't remember exactly what they were, but I don't completely agree with some of the things you're saying, but that was your take on it. And the funny thing is, I kind of like already addressed like those things in my opinion. Like, I think the things about what was it that you just said about um what were some of the first like negative things you were saying about him?
The things that he failed at, maybe?
The things that he failed.
Yep.
I don't think that this is a corny. There's a corny thing I could say, and this is probably the last thing I say, just because like I think this was a good podcast. Um, the corny thing I could say is that like there's really like no such thing as a failure in life, but also in art. Like, but with what you're saying is different. Like, you know, saying you're gonna move to Chicago and then not doing it, that is like that is more so like that's just a lack of follow through. But that's what I was kind of saying earlier about him is he's very dynamic, and like that's something I think I strive to be like. No, I would like to be more a more consistent and person who can follow through on what I'm saying, but something about what he's doing with like not following through with all those things that I do um, respect and is a quality I'd like to have as an artist is like you make everything chaotic. Let me make sure my phone's not gonna die. My phone might die, but so if I go out, I might just go out.
Yeah.
But the you create chaos and then you maneuver through that chaos because we are in a chaotic world, and you're gonna have to either way. But I think it's really cool to like create chaos and then like maneuver through that chaos,
Hmm.
and that's kind of seems like what he does. So that's
You
my
might.
last piece.
So,
Let me grab my charger.
okay, cool.
You can keep speaking now.
You could hear me? Good. All right. So you oh, that's probably gonna be it, guys. I would like to say what I was gonna say, but I don't know. Um, I'd rather I would rather Trevor be here, but because I don't know what he wants, what he's with okay with sharing or not. But thank you guys. Hope it all made sense. Um, well, I'll say this: I don't see how this could be offensive, but and you know, maybe next episode he can clarify it or something. Oh, there he is. Okay, that's awesome.
Can you see me?
Yep. So I was gonna say, you might be able to understand uh, the way that you were saying as an artist to create chaos and then be able to maneuver it. Um, I don't know exactly what you mean, but there is something to creating art that is um, hard to understand, so that when you do or that it so that you grow through trying to understand it, that the audience grows. But anyways, I don't know if that was what you were talking about. Is that?
Yeah, there's like a lot of different reasons, but the one thing I'll say is that that's true, but also what I was more so, or what I'm getting, why I would say chaos is a, and maneuvering through it is a important thing, is just like was what I was saying earlier about like if you want to create something new, which is hard to do, and you can create that from a place of stability and peace actually, but I'm just saying he does it in a way. I think I did say earlier you have to, but you don't have to. You don't have to do anything as an artist. But if you want to create something new and something big, you kind of, especially big, I would say, or both, new and big, you kind of have to be able to maneuver through chaos. Um,
Okay. Yeah. So like the chaos you'd be creating is and then maneuvering through is more unintentional, but just because you're um, doing something that's done, that there's no rule book on, or there's no manual to, because you're creating it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I like that you brought that up. And the thing I want to bring up with your permission is, you know how you're Gemini, of course, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh, so is Kanye, right?
yeah,
Yep. So is Trump, and so you might understand them more and relate with them more, and definitely, that would be um, I thought of that while you were sharing your argument. Even though I have my own opinion, it definitely made a lot of sense. I liked what you said, and I know that that's a huge possibility as well. Everything you said, but also, do you remember what you said about? I don't know if you want to share this or not, but or if you remember what I'm talking about, but it was maybe a year ago, but the thing about Trump and Kanye that's like makes them a Gemini or like they. Do you remember?
mm.
Or that you like about them being a Gemini? Okay.
I remember talking about that, but I don't remember what I said.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think it was something about them looking, crazy or mean, but in the in their heart they're like really nice people or something like that or
That sounds about right. That sounds like something I would say.
yeah,
uh, yeah, I
I
think
don't remember.
there's. Yeah, I also think. I think I've learned a lot from you about my sign and whatnot, but also at the time, my understanding was just a basic like it's the twins, and so the way that I always understood that in myself and that I see in them as well is that I think yes, pretty much what you just said, but on a level of like there's almost like two spirits inside of one or two different minds inside of one, and one is like this stable um I don't know which is which, but one is more chaotic and one is more peaceful. And with Trump, for most people, that might be a lot harder to understand. But I think he does have this. This is going to be a controversial thing. This one, I will say, I don't think he is. It depends on what you mean by racist, but like based on what I've heard and seen, he's not racist in the sense that he looks down upon other races.
Hmm.
At least in what I'm describing. Like what I'm getting at is I think he does love America and he loves American people. So maybe you could call him racist in that maybe he doesn't care about other countries as much, but he loves America and American people. I might be getting too into the weeds here, but my point is Kanye as well. I'm describing like the one side of both of them. On Kanye with Kanye, it's like he is this like pure artist who just wants to create and loves music. I don't know if he loves his viewers. He doesn't really give off that vibe, but I'm sure he does deep down. But he loves art. I can say that confidently. And then on the other side of both of them, you have the the more egotistical artist, or in Trump's case, entrepreneur. They just like they have this drive. So there's like this drive and this ego and this sort of chaos, and then on the other side there's this and there's a lot more to it than that. Like the two sides are very complex, but I can definitely see that they both have these two sides that are they're almost like opposites of each other, and they exist within this one person, and so they are these very controversial people, like
Hmm.
very divisive people. Like some people
Mm.
love Trump and Kanye, and a lot of people hate them, and it's completely understandable both sides. Um, yeah,
That's really cool. Yeah, because like they have like almost they they have almost multiple personalities, but it's like they're so they're so mindful in two ways, and so you could be attracted to either one of them, and or both, and or at least see the maybe the positive in both. But them being divisive might come from, it's like Kanye's a genius in music, and maybe and maybe also super, maybe not a genius, but maybe also super thoughtful in when it comes to like um the way that he's trying to push the limits of society, if it or and also like um I was going to say that it's pretty smart for him to have thought of like how to, like, he might have to cancel himself to actually get out of a uh a contract, although that that is really smart. It's just not on the level of like, I was trying to think of like if he's consciously trying to push the envelope and get people to, like we were saying before, widen the scope of the discussion, even if he doesn't um, agree with what he's saying. He's just putting it. He's just, if he's consciously doing that, like widening the scope of discussion, and he's so smart that he thinks that's the only way to do it. Being so controversial and edgelordy. You know, um, that'd be crazy. But anyway, so yeah, like I don't know if I made it make sense, but yeah, you could either, he might be extra controversial because some people love him for his music, or they really loved him for his music at one point before they started hating him. But so they love him for his greatness in his music, and then they love him for or sorry, now they hate him for you know um his really controversial takes. But I don't know, too tired to
Yeah.
try to make sense. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry, everyone. Yep. And you.
No, I think this is a good one, and
Hmm.
I think that made sense. Um, and last thing I'll say is that yeah, that makes a lot of sense with everything I was saying. What you were saying a few minutes ago, like that, I relate to him, and as much as some people who might see this may not like to hear and may judge me, like also Trump, like I do relate to them probably because of our similar or same sign in that sense. Because yeah, sometimes I, like I've said a little bit on here, like I try to be. I haven't said about the empathy, but yeah, I try to be humble. Like I try to have the Christian values, the Jesus values, and with that, I do love Kanye, and I do. Uh, I don't. I mean, I love Trump in the sense that I love. I try to love everyone, um, but I don't get as worked up about Trump as 99.9% of people, and I don't love most of the things he does. But what I'm saying is that makes a lot that confuses me sometimes. Like, why do I love Kanye so much? Like, in my eyes, it's not that he can do nothing wrong. It's that I completely understand everything he does. Um, and sort of Trump. Trump's a little different because he is manipulated by a lot of people. He's way more entrenched in the matrix than Kanye. But with that being said, I'm like, I try to be a good guy. Why does everyone hate this guy and I don't? I don't. I either like in Kanye's case, I love him, and in Trump's case, I don't really care. Um, I don't see him as Hitler in almost any sense. So like, what's wrong with me? But like, I don't think there's anything wrong with me. It's just I see the humanity in them, and I can relate to them in that sense. Um, like I see where they're coming from, not in terms of politics or just in terms of like the character of them as human beings.
Yeah, I was following most of it. I mean, I'm so tired.
Same.
It's hard to think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should probably wrap it up,
All
but
right, yeah,
I
let's do
think
it.
this was a very good one.
Yeah, definitely. Man, it's so funny. Like there were times like Kanye or like Gemini's. Like my thoughts were so I had so many thoughts that they almost felt like I contradicted myself at multiple times because I was like, oh, this is going amazing, this is going really bad. But it's because I was so thoughtful that I was um and that there was so much going on that I was like thinking those things, and it's better to have, I think it's been a long day. I don't know if we talked about this on the phone or talked about it in the video or never talked about it today, but it's better to have, or I don't know when we talked about this, or you and I talked about this, but I talked about this with someone. It's better to have a substance, or it's better to have a controversial something. Oh no, it wasn't with you. It was about someone. It was with someone else. But I was talking about how I love movies that, and this is a Red Letter Media thing. They brought it up, and then I noticed, oh, those are all my favorite movies too. Not their favorite movies, although there's some overlap. But they said that some their favorite movies tend to be the ones that are either loved or hated. And I was talking about that with someone, that if it's loved or hated, that's because, or if everyone's opinion on it is super extreme, either they loved it or they hated it, it means that the film must have at least been doing something. There must have been some substance to cause people to react in such ways. And so a lot of movies are just meh, it's an action movie, and everyone just hates it or everyone just loves it, but or everyone just doesn't really think anything of it, or it's just an okay movie. But if a movie or if a person, like you said, tries to do something that's not really done before or isn't done very often, or is really um there's a lot to it, and it's out of the ordinary, then that's going to be something that is um is good. So this podcast episode
Right.
is totally kind of like that,
Yeah.
because there was a lot going on, and it's not we're not used to it for our videos, so it was hard to tell which way I thought it was going, but I like you said, I think it really went well. um yeah,
I also probably talked more than I have on any other one. So
that was amazing.
I think, yeah, no, that's a really good point. I do think that, like I said, if everyone in the world saw this, I think it would be a fairly controversial one. Not because of nothing we said was like really controversial, just the way that people are. People are going to be like, well, he didn't say that this was bad and that Kanye is evil and like insane. So he blah blah blah. But not to
Right.
mention the Trump stuff. Like all I said is that I don't think he's Hitler. And like if someone heard that, like a lot of people, if they heard that, they're gonna be like, "You're MAGA or whatever." It's like, no.
Oh yeah. No, you would literally hear their entire like political knowledge.
Yeah.
They would just be like
Wh-
they would just be like telling you everything
What
about
about
him.
freaking alligator Alcatraz?
Right.
I'm like, uh, I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Thank you, Bubba.
Yeah,
Love you, bro.
love you too.
Good episode. We're gonna definitely what are we doing next? Spider-Man 2.1 or battle or battle after battle. You know the movie, right?
With Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, whatever
almost
that
saw that
movie's called.
yesterday. I didn't say this in the podcast, but I went to
Nice.
see In Whose Name again yesterday with my sister. But when I got there, it was the wrong theater. And so I was like, "Do you want to see anything?" And she was like, "No, I kind of just want to go home, actually." And I was like, "But the one I thought about seeing was that one. I thought she
Oh,
would
so
like
you were gonna see Spider-Man with your sister?
I was gonna go
Sorry,
see In
which
Whose
movie?
Name.
With your sister again?
Yeah, I saw it by myself the
Wow.
first time. I was gonna see
Right.
it with my sister again, and then
Oh, okay, sorry. I
but it
dozed off.
wasn't in the theater, and so then I was. She didn't want to see anything, but I was thinking about Battle After Battle. I think she would like that. Um, so yeah, we can try and do. I can try and go see both. I don't know how long Spider Man will be in the theater, but I can try and go see both
Mhm.
because those would both probably be good.
Pretty
Um,
sure it's gonna be into like the second week of October even.
cool.
Yep.
We could also maybe we don't have to do this now. We could do this later for like the Halloween theme. But I saw Young Frankenstein today in the theater.
Mm.
That would be a good
Yeah.
one. It wouldn't be super symbolically deep. Maybe it would, but
What I feel like it's just like one of the smartest films though. Like even if
no,
it's
that's
not
true. That's
symbolically
true.
deep,
Yeah, it is really,
comedy's.
really good.
Hmm. I haven't seen it in a long time,
Yeah,
but yeah, I love that movie, and so does Steven. Uh, and maybe Pook would be. I don't know. I think Pook's seen that movie, or Lucas has seen that movie. Katie probably, hopefully, or I think Katie loves that movie. Anyways, yeah, good stuff. We're gonna have a lot of good movies coming for the viewers. Stay tuned, guys. Watch our other videos, because if you don't like this one, then maybe you'll like the other ones. But so happy this one happened. We'll uh we'll see you next time, guys.
peace out.
Bye, Trey.
Yeah.
Peace.